Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.
Sadhana Chatushtaya is a teaching of the divine sage Adi Shankara. This teaching refers to the 4 traits that one should strive and develop before and during one's spiritual journey.
Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.
In this episode, we continue to explore the first of the 4 traits in Sadhana Chatushtaya, namely Viveka. As I explained in the last episode, Viveka is the ability to prioritize and the intelligence to distinguish between what is permanent and what is fleeting. As I continued to walk along the river that morning in March of 2020, I came across the Raja Harishchandra Ghat. A funeral pyre was getting ready to be lit. Standing by the pyre and watching the solemn proceedings put things in perspective in a way I had not thought of before.
Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.
This is Raja Harishchandra Ghat. Raja Harishchandra was a king, again, centuries ago. It's of course recorded in the history, it's not mythology or some whimsical thing. He was a king dedicated to truth completely, so truthful that he was ready to give up his life. And he gave up his life for he would never utter a falsehood. So anyway, you can Google more on those kind of stories. This is the ghat that is dedicated to him, and here behind me is a real pyre that is going to take place. Somebody has passed away, and so like I said, this is the place where it is meant for liberation of souls. It is not easy for you to decide to come and die here. There are 7 holy cities in India which are very powerful portals of spirituality. One of them is Kashi, and the other one is Kanchipuram. Then there is Mathura and Dwaraka, Ayodhya as I know it, so that itself makes it Mathura, Dwaraka, Ayodhya, Kashi, Kanchipuram makes it 5. And 2 more, I'll try and figure out if I can remember the 2 more. Anyway, so it's a very solemn ceremony for people who lost their dear and near one. But also, because it's in a place like this, it is a kind of, it's an irony, but it's a kind of a source of joy as well, that the soul of my parent or my friend or my colleague or my partner or my husband, child, whatever, whoever, they have attained the highest state of consciousness. That is the belief. So that gives a sense of closure, a sense of peace of mind, I think, to the people who lose their beloved near and dear ones here. So what's going to happen here is one of those things that happens. And then it puts life in perspective, right? It puts life in what is it all about, when it finally ends up just being in the cremation ground. That's it. You come, you eat, you enjoy so-called enjoyment, you go ups and downs, and then you disappear. So the question is, therefore, when we talk of prioritization, when we talk of distinguishing what is fleeting, what is permanent, the question is, what is then permanency? Is your body permanent? No, it's not. Look at that behind me. There is there's a body inside those wooden what do you call them? Behind the wooden pieces, wooden pyre, if you will, ready to be burned to ashes. That's it. It comes to an end there, right? So what is it? What is permanent? Nothing. The world as it was 1,000 years ago is not today. The world which is today may not exist in another 1,000. It'll change because of global warming and all those cyclical changes. Things are going to change. Everything that our senses can perceive, can enjoy, can digest, everything is fleeting. However, there is in the philosophy of yoga and the philosophy of Vedanta, if there is a belief, then there is this one belief that you, the I in you, is permanent. It survives death, just like it survives deep sleep. You get up next morning and say, wow, I slept well. I don't know, I was out for the count, right? But the I in you was aware. That's why when you got up, you said you slept well. It was not just inference, but it was an experience that the I recorded in you. So the I, could it survive death? Is there another state of consciousness other than being awake, being dreaming, or being fast asleep? Awakened state, dream state, deep sleep state. Is there a fourth state? Is there a fifth state? That is what this search is about. That is what spirituality is all about. That is what yoga is all about. If I can go to the fourth state, if I can go to the fifth state, then I know I exist. And that permanency, that sense of deathlessness, that sense of immortality, brings so much peace in the depths of your heart that when you open your eyes and you come back to the awakened state, then nothing seems to bother you. A sense of stability, a deep foundation, is there in the cosmos, and the I in me is not going to get destroyed. This is a learning. This lifetime is just a learning. I've taken this lifetime, I've taken this name and form to play a different game of life, and you begin to play it according to how the rules unfold. Namaste. So the lesson for you today is meditate on death in Kaivalya Marga. Meditate on death. Think of what is fleeting. We are still on Viveka. Think of what is fleeting in life. What is it that is permanent in life? What am I working for? What am I spending my days and nights for? Where is all this going to end? Think about that. And if the sense of I in you seems a little more permanent than what is around you, then meditate on the I inside you. That is the Shiva we are worshipping. That is the Shiva I really love. That is the Shiva I'm praying to awaken. That is the Shiva that fills my every being with joy, a sense of gratitude, a sense of abundance, even though I may have no bank balance. The point is the Shiva inside is to be awakened. And that is the beauty of Sanathana Dharma. That is the beauty of yogic teachings. That is the beauty of Vedanta. Unless that happens, and that doesn't happen because your focus is on the fleeting things. You get distracted by the fleeting things. So in your meditation today, as you understand Viveka a little more, think of what is fleeting, what is death. Don't be afraid to think of death. Don't be afraid. Death is just another deep sleep. The I in you will survive many deaths as it has over the past. Such a lovely morning. It's just fabulous to be in this place and continue learning and sharing that wisdom as it comes along. So we are on this talk of Viveka. If this is another class for Kaivalya Marga, I'm not done with Viveka yet. It's not letting me go further, because there is one more perspective I want to share. When we talk of this distinction between the ability to distinguish, the ability to distinguish between what is impermanent and what is permanent, nitya and anitya, what is important, what is not so important at this moment in life, at this moment, at this point in time, right? So as we talked about in the last class, when we talk of the senses, when we discuss the water element, I spoke a lot about the understanding of the sense control and all of that. When we talk of senses, every experience of the sense, whether it is what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you hear, and what you touch, any of this, okay? Any of this, whatever you do through the senses is by nature fleeting. What does that mean? That is the experience of that particular sense organ. whether good or bad, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant experience. I smell something, I love the perfume, and I go, I love the smell. And then the next time, as I pass some of these ghats, they was just reeking of urine and things like that. So you go, oh no, I don't want it. But then when you realize both these, the pleasantness and the unpleasantness, both are fleeting, then what would you do? You become kind of centered and you say, you know what, the good and the bad both are going to be fleeting anyway. There's no point chasing only the good. That is one thing. So it is the same thing whether you're tasting some food or whether you're seeing something nice and beautiful, that is going to pass. What is beautiful today may not be so beautiful tomorrow. What is beautiful for a moment, when you keep staring it for half an hour, it's no longer as beautiful and you get bored because the senses get saturated with the experience. There is a very low degree of saturation for the senses. So if I like a sweet that I eat, let's say an ice cream or gulab jamun, or this place incidentally is so many food stalls and so much food. That's why I decided to fast when I'm here. Just milk, dahi, that is yogurt, and fruits. Anyway, the point is, when I taste something sweet and my tongue goes, oh, I love it, I want one more. The second one perhaps tastes a little better. Then I go for the third, then the taste is not so much. And then the fourth becomes, oh gosh, I can't eat anymore. But what I'm trying to go back to that first bite of that sweet. I'm trying to replicate it. So I go back again and again to the same sweet. And every time I go back, it is diminishing. So in economics, you call it the law of diminishing marginal utility. Once it goes up and then it starts coming down. You can't consistently get more and more and more and more and more satisfaction from the senses, however good the experience can be. This is across all the five senses. And that is why in yoga path, the experience of the senses are considered fleeting in nature. It's fleeting, it's not permanent. If I'm happy because I tasted something and my pleasure centers in the brain light up and I feel wonderful, how long does that stay? Not very long. Half an hour later, once again, my brain starts craving more, and it ends up being an incessant desire. In Sanskrit, it's called Trishna, not Krishna with a K, but Trishna with a T. Trishna is craving, a desire, and it's like I want it, and your whole soul, it seems, is possessed with that desire, aflame with that desire, if you call it. Now, the point in yoga practice, the point in Viveka, when that happens, when you get obsessed with a desire, your ability to discriminate, to distinguish, to know that this is only impermanent, don't chase it, don't waste all your energy in it, because the satisfaction that you're going to get from it is temporary, it's just momentary. Why waste all that energy and put maybe a lot of money online or whatever it is you're seeking, right? Online, just for that few moments of pleasure. That ability to distinguish vanishes because the desire possesses your mind. It's like Rahu, a planet which is cloudy, which clouds the sun in you. It clouds you. You can't think clearly. And because of that lack of clarity, because of lack of Viveka, you start chasing these sensual pleasures one at a time. If one doesn't give you happiness, you go to the other, you go to the other, you go to the other, and you come back. And we are desperately searching for the permanent joy in the impermanent senses, sensual experiences. And that is why disappointments come to us. That is why we get disillusioned after a while. You keep saying, oh my gosh, I tried this, I tried that, but nothing is happening. Nothing will happen unless there is a transformation from within, and understanding that every experience that my senses give me, these five senses, and the mind that experiences it through these senses, this experience is only fleeting. And what I am searching for is eternal peace, a sense of existence, a sense of immortality, a sense of empowerment that is not affected by these ups and downs in life. And that cannot be given by the senses. That comes when you learn to rise above the senses. So that distinction is very important when you are in this path of yoga, when you are in this path of spirituality. So as This has been a short lesson, but it's a very, very important lesson. These things are, it's like the teacher, it just points you in that direction, and then it's up to you to explore it on your own. My job is just to point you these directions of thinking, and then spend days, weeks, months maybe exploring that before you come back and say, where's the next lesson? Because these are going to be on YouTube, and very soon it's all going to be as a playlist or whatever. So the point is, you can just keep watching one after the other, which is not wrong. But what are you retaining? What are you practicing? How is it helping you transform your life? Because you're taking your valuable time to watch these videos. So think about it. This is what my guru did to me. He pointed us and he left us. Now you want to take it, you take it and go in that direction, explore it. And the more I explored senses, the more I understood the experience of the senses, the more I am convinced today that every experience is temporary. It's not bad. I'm not doing, like I said again, I'm not talking about the morality of sensual pleasures versus spiritual pleasure and all of that. That's where it becomes religion. That's where it becomes dogmatic. That's where you go home with a guilty conscience and all of that. That's worse. No, I'm not talking about that at all. What I am saying is, understand, that is why Viveka is important. Clarity in your thinking. Not religion, spirituality. Not religion, spirituality. Not dogmatism. Not some hardcore fanatic way of thinking. But open-mindedness. Experiential wisdom is what is more important. Vedanta calls it aparoksha anubhuti. Aparoksha. Paroksha is what you derive from others, from books, knowledge. Aparoksha anubhuti is the experience that you get from within. Aparoksha. It's not borrowed. It's not a borrowed experience. So that is what will build the foundation for spiritual practice. So think of the sensual pleasures you just had, what food you ate, how you enjoyed the taste, and where is that taste now? Where is that joy from that experience now? It's not there. Think of the most wonderful thing that happened to you by way of senses, maybe a few moments ago, maybe a day ago from your memory. Dig it out of your memory and then analyze that. How did you enjoy it? What makes you want to go back? And how long can you hold it? And are you just going to be happy with that? Like I always say, my favorite analogy is, you go and watch a trailer of a movie and then you say, oh, the trailer is fantastic. The movie must be even more greater, right? So the common sense would be, you go then watch a movie. If you like the trailer, if you watched it once, twice, maybe 3 times, you go watch the movie. But then if you keep going back only to the trailer, then you will never get to watch the movie. You will always still come out saying the movie must be fantastic, but then you'll always come back with questions from that trailer. How did it end? Or what was that caused this hero and heroine to separate? What was that? Why did that person die? And what was that big explosion in the background? You don't know. All this trailer just showed you glimpses, and then tempts you for greater knowledge. Senses, in my understanding, is a blessing in disguise. Every experience of the sense is like a trailer to the bigger movie. It is part of the movie. This experience, the ananda, is real, but it is fleeting. It's fleeting. Okay, don't understand this sensual pleasures as, oh, these are all sensual, I'm not interested. That is wrong. It is ananda, it is a real Brahmananda. The same ananda, giving a glimpse of that Brahmananda, trickles through the senses. A glimpse. So the senses are giving you a glimpse of the real joy that exists beyond them. How do I know? Because I've experienced it in my meditation. That joy is there in every cell. And I know, I'm talking to you from conviction. And like I always say, don't take my word for it. It is just sharing, and you know that, okay, this guy is crazy and walk away from me. Or you can say, all right, I can relate to what he's saying. Both are welcome. Because all I'm doing is sharing my experience. That taste of the higher spiritual joy, when that spirit expands and it touches, is like a whole sea full of pleasures, if you will. How do you explain that? Again, you can't. So you're not seeking pleasure. But if the senses can give you this joy, then how much more can the spirit give you? That distinction is called Viveka. So we are still on the topic and looking at this whole concept of senses from the point of view of ability to distinguish between what is fleeting and what is permanent. The I in you, the Shiva in you is permanent. That will never change. Everything else changes. Everything else changes. And for us to be deeply rooted in that experience, we have to begin with little steps, small steps, and bring the ability to distinguish between what is fleeting, what is permanent into our everyday practice. So in today's meditation for your homework, think of fleeting experiences of the senses. Don't judge them as good or bad. If there is any judgment, if there is any label you want to apply the label of fleeting versus permanent. That is the label you want to put. It's not good or bad. You're not committing any sin because you had a sex couple of times a week or you had an extra ice cream or... Nah. This is not to put a guilt spin on you at all. The path of yoga is to release you from the sense of guilt. The path of spirituality, the path of Vedanta is to release you from dogmatism, from fanatism, from blind beliefs and faith. So understand the fleeting nature, the fleeting experience of the senses, then you will be able to handle these senses and they come under your control. And when these powerful senses come under your control, all the 5 elements begin to obey you. And then through this empowered state of mind, through this position of empowerment, you will be able to create your life, the realities around you. Let's explore all of this as we go along. So with this, we covered the first pillar of the fourfold pillars, if you will, sadhana chatushtaya. The first prerequisite, the first pillar of a spiritual aspirant should be rooted in Viveka, the ability to distinguish, the ability to prioritize, the ability to think clearly. May the Shiva in us guide us, our minds, towards that clarity, give us that perspective, and may we flow like this river, constantly, without losing sight of the goal, flow towards the ocean of infinite wisdom, oneness, and the Spirit. Namaste. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.